Blessed love, I am the Honorable Priest Isaac. I am an official priest within the realms of Rastafari of the Ethiopia Africa Black International Congress. I also hold a certification in the craft of archaeoastronomy from Politecnico di Milano in Italy. Our universe and its maker has always been an intriguing subject for humankind. Astronomy is the study of everything in the universe beyond the Earth's atmosphere. Ancient astronomy is similar, but pays special attention to the physical and spiritual values of stars, planets, moons, and other celestial objects. It also brings in the terrestrial component, being things on an earthly plane, such as plants, human organs, and connects them to the heavenly bodies. In this course, you will learn the makeup of various planets and stars, how to locate them in the night sky, along with their associated constellations. You will also be taught about the earliest civilizations known for their astronomical comprehension, namely Kush, also known as ancient Ethiopia, Kemet, called Egypt today, the Dogons, and the Bozos, as well as the civilization of Sumer. You will also learn about black holes, their nature and origin, as well as how the ancients viewed them. Ancient astronomy is the mother of archaeoastronomy and astrotheology. Both subject areas are covered by the Priest Isaac's Institute of Holistic Knowledge. Sign up today. Visit our website, priestisaacinstitute.com, or email us, priestisaacinstitute@gmail.com, for more information. And we definitely say blessed love to each and everyone. Give thanks for your presence with us. We glorify Negus and August Emperor Haile Selassie the First is to be praised. I welcome you to another edition of the Tiger's Nest, the Honorable Priest Isaac here with you. We're going to have a wonderful program this evening. Definitely thankful for all the subscribers to this program. Those of you who are on the subscription team, you know that every program of the Tiger's Nest, you will receive a copy of it definitely via your email. You'll get it in your inbox after the program is recorded. So definitely, if you now are not a member of the subscription team to the Tiger's Nest, I'm definitely encouraging you to subscribe. All you got to do is email me, priestisaacinstitute@gmail.com, and ask me to become a subscriber to this radio program. And let me repeat, you will never miss another episode again. Royal family, this evening we are reaching out to all of our Ethiopian family, wherever you may be. We have a beautiful program for you. I think every Ethiopian needs to hear this program. The importance of us acknowledging Emperor Haile Selassie I, specifically our divine father, the father of our nation, really. But anyway, I don't want to go too deep into that as yet. What we're going to be doing in a moment, we are going to be inviting the audio of one PLO Lamumba. He did a beautiful program with Russian television. I think this was about a month or so ago. But of course, you know, Russian TV or RTV or RT has been banned in many circles. So we definitely had to dig this one out. And he is speaking of the Italian invasion of Ethiopia in 1936 and the defeat of the very said Italians, of course, in 1941. So we're going to get into that in a moment. And of course, I myself have I have my own outlook on the whole situation with not only the Italian war, but how we look at the accomplishments of that battle when Haile Selassie I defeated Italy. This is a very important program, family. I want you to make sure you share it with a friend, like it and share the link and comment and do whatever it is you need to do to make sure that each and every individual gets a taste of this one. Now, remember, the date is the 21st day of April, 2025. We are already stepping into April now. So it's just a few days, a few strongs from now, the 21st day of April, the official launch of the online magazine, The Ambassador's Pen. Now, of course, remember we have the online magazine Kidemi. This is an offshoot of Kidemi. This is somewhat of a mini magazine. This is a monthly catalog. As you know, Kidemi comes out every 6 months. So this is a monthly catalog, and we are officially launching this on the 21st day of April. I'm inviting everyone to make sure you are in the house with us. All you have to do is register. It's going to be officially, fully online. So it's going to be in the format of a webinar, which is an online seminar. And again, it's going to be the 21st of April, 7 p.m. until. Registration is free. It's just like the magazine. The magazine is free. Make sure you subscribe to the magazine, The Ambassador's Pen. It is free as well. And although we are having the official launch, keep in mind that we already have 2 editions that came out. The Forerunner edition and the special edition, which highlighted the 38th African Union Summit that took place about a month or so ago. But as I like to highlight, it will be good if you are there with us for the launch of the Ambassador's Pen, the magazine. But it would be better if you are in the magazine, the Ambassador's Pen. And that is when the whole world would realize that you are definitely serious about business, because you must keep in mind that we will be launching our magazines internationally, different corners, different webinars, different universities, etc., etc. We will be highlighting our businesses to many different businesses and enterprises and so forth. So if you are really interested in your business, getting as much eyeballs on it as possible, advertising with Kidemi, advertising with the Ambassador's Pen is definitely the way to go. And of course, if you advertise with us today, you will be a key part of the launch on the 21st day of April, because that's what it will be all about. We will be highlighting the magazine to all the people that will be there. So if you are an advertiser in the magazine, obviously your business will be promoted. So family, for those who may not know, you could check the links in the description for those who would be viewing this on social media. So every video has a description where you can go and press the links. So you can view the Ambassador's Pen magazine. For those of you who have not seen the Ambassador's Pen, go and press the link, and you will see for yourself the episode that we did highlighting peace in the Horn of Africa, and the other episode highlighting the summit that I just mentioned. And you also have the magazine Kidemi. All the links will be in the description. Make sure you do what you got to do. Now, as I said, family, we want to touch upon the history of Haile Selassie I in the eyes of our Ethiopian people today. And I will tell you why I think that this subject area is extremely important. Several years ago, maybe a decade plus, the impression that we were getting in the Western world is that Ethiopian people have forgotten their history, basically in general. not just the history of Haile Selassie, but just their ancient history. But of course, their ancient history is right in front of their eyes. So it's something that definitely merits some level of query, questioning, inquisitive nature within the people. What is this all about? Who is this statue? Where did this come from? Because, I mean, we're talking about the origin of humanity, the oldest fossils of human beings, the rock churches of Lalibela carved from the mountain, the presence of the Ark of the Covenant, the oldest dynasty in history. So there's a lot within the scope of Ethiopia. No matter how much you try to hide it, it will still come out. But the thing is, the reality is, whether it's through the hands of the Derg or other successive governments, the true rich history of Ethiopia has been kept under sheets, under wraps, under cover, swept under the rug for one reason or the other, but it's coming out today. And this is why you see that the Ethiopians are celebrating the victory of Adwa on another level on a day like today. But in my book, they're still missing something. For one reason or the other, we still want to pretend as if we do not know the glory of Emperor Haile Selassie I. So this is why I am encouraging all Ethiopians to stay tuned tonight. As I said, we will be visiting an audio of Brother P.L.O. Lumumba, the professor, and he will be speaking on the same subject area, specifically the Italian war with Ethiopia 36 to 41. It's about 15 or so minutes. This is a program he did with Russian television not too long ago. I want the royal family to take in this information. Of course, it's good vibration coming to you, and it's coming from the good professor. So, of course, the information will be definitely something that I'm sure you will be pleased with. So again, this is coming from Russian RT, and it is Brother P.L.O. Lumumba speaking of the Italian-Ethiopian War and Ethiopia being uncolonialized.
I am Piero Lumumba here at Paradise Gardens in Kiambu County in the Republic of Kenya. We continue with our conversations about the continent of Africa. And today we focus on a country that has a rich history. Historians at one time referred to her as Abyssinia, but known to most of the world as Ethiopia. And one of its greatest claims to fame is that it is a country that was never colonized. That is not to mean that there were no attempts at colonization. There were. And after the Berlin Conference in 1884 and 1885, the European power that made every effort to colonize Ethiopia was Italy. And it is interesting to note that Ethiopia gained her significance throughout the world because she succeeded in defeating the Italians at the Battle of Adwa, sometimes referred to as the Battle of Adwa. The battle took only 2 days, and King Menelik II, or if you like, Emperor Menelik II, a descendant of Menelik I, who claimed that he was a descendant of King Solomon, who was of the Jewish heritage. What is interesting with Ethiopia is that they were so organized because this is an old empire. And in order to appreciate their military prowess at that time, it is also important to appreciate that in terms of technology and in terms of other areas which can be characterized as civilization, the Ethiopians were. Traditionally, of course, the Ethiopian Orthodox Church was a church that was very well organized. They had a writing style, the Ge'ez, a complete alphabet which was as sophisticated as any, and an army that was organized in a manner that was as sophisticated as any. And the Italians underestimated the Ethiopians. And when they attacked, they were, of course, rooted, as it were, and it goes down in history that the Battle of Adwa or Adowa, which is celebrated up till today, is emblematic of the fact that there was an empire within the continent of Africa which had the military prowess to fight the sophisticated European powers. But after the Battle of Adowa had been fought, and after the Italians had been defeated, they did not rest on their laurels. They did not allow their memories to disappear. They remembered that they were beaten. And in 1935, the Italians came back again when the fascist regime of Benito Mussolini was in place. The Italians attacked Ethiopia again in the year 1935. And for 5 years, Ethiopia was occupied but never colonized, with the Emperor Rastafari, then known as Haile Selassie, seeking exile in the United Kingdom, and later was restored as the Emperor of Ethiopia. And I think it is important to appreciate that this entire enterprise and the fight that took place within Ethiopia and the occupation of the Italians was characterized by a number of things, one of which was to try to impose Italian culture on Ethiopia. And indeed, if you travel to Ethiopia today, you'll see certain vestiges of that interaction between Ethiopia and Italy. One of the big markets in Addis Ababa is Mercato, which takes its name from market, which is the Italian word for the market. You also see certain vestiges of Italian presence in Ethiopia in different parts of Ethiopia, and the reality, of course, is that we end up with a situation where an attempt at colonization only ended at occupation. But it's important to note, even as we focus on Ethiopia, to note that in the neighborhood of Ethiopia, the Italians did succeed in occupying Eritrea, and Eritrea became an Italian colony for quite some time, but that did not filter into the Ethiopian environment, which then begs the question, which I think ought to be addressed: what is it that enabled the Ethiopians to organize themselves in such a manner as they were able to resist the Italians and to do so in a successful manner? Let us go back to the Battle of Adwa, or sometimes referred to as the Battle of Adowa. The reason why the Ethiopians were successful is because of the mode of organization. The organization was of such a nature that power was centralized, and centralized under an emperor who was fundamentally a feudal leader with very sophisticated military organization. So that when the Italians came, they were not confronting a force that was not organized, which was typical in many African societies which did not have standing armies, and that fighters were mobilized on a need basis. The emperor did have a fighting force which was sophisticated. The emperor had had interaction with the rest of the world and had acquired armament that put them in good state. Some historical commentators and sympathizers of Italy, of course, suggest that because they were numerically superior, that is why they are overpowered. But that is an argument which is without merit. We have seen in many instances armies which enjoyed numerical superiority but were defeated, that notwithstanding. Indeed, as regards the interaction between the Italians and the Ethiopians during the famous Battle of Adua, it can therefore be said that the military superiority of the Ethiopians is what carried the day. And of course, in addition to that, we must also appreciate that this was a proud empire with a rich history, rich culturally, rich militarily, and rich in many ways. One only has to go and see the very sophisticated dugout churches in Lalibela to appreciate how sophisticated the Ethiopians were. Which then brings us to what one may characterize as the appetite for revenge, which manifested itself several years later in 1935 and ultimately the occupation. But the message to be taken home is that the Italian noses were blooded. And they were blooded, and they went home defeated, and with the short occupation, Ethiopia did come back and succeed in ensuring that they continued and to enjoy the historical label that it is one of the only two territories in the continent of Africa that were never colonized, that is to include Liberia. And I think that that is what has defined modern-day Ethiopia. Divided as she is, it is an empire that stands out. And when I say divided, it must be appreciated that Ethiopia has over 80 nationalities. We only talk about the major nationalities such as the Oromo, the Amhara, and the Tigray, and of course the Somalis, but there are many other nationalities which succeeded in organizing themselves around the fact that they had a sophisticated civilization. Another important thing to demonstrate that the interaction between Ethiopia and Italy was one that was a fleeting one, that the Italian language never took root in Ethiopia. And that is indicative of the fact that there was no successful colonization. Throughout the period, Amharic remained the dominant language, and the Ethiopian alphabet remains one that is informed by the Giz. And we also know, of course, that even in terms of organization of their calendar, the Ethiopian calendar remained Julian rather than Gregorian, which is what one would have wanted to see if the Italians had succeeded in colonizing the place that we so admire called Ethiopia. It is also important to note, when we talk about that interaction between the Italians and the Ethiopians, and we give it the historical context, the question that must then be asked, what value did it add to the entire project of decolonization, particularly with regard to the countries in the neighborhood, or not so much in the neighborhood that had been conquered by the Italians? I'm talking about Somalia in Mogadishu, and I'm talking about Libya up in the Maghreb. The message it sent to all these peoples is that Africa had a duty to fight the Italian colonization. And it is critical in this regard. It is critical in the sense that when the Italians joined the side of the Germans in the so-called Second World War, Ethiopia was in the forefront of the fight against the Italians, while we know that quite a number of African countries which were then under the yoke of colonization were compelled to participate on behalf of their colonizers. The Ethiopians were quite clear. And the Ethiopians were clear in the sense that they had fought against the fascist regime of Benito Mussolini between 1935 and 1936 and during the occupation. And they were clear that as a result of that, it was incumbent upon them to ensure that they participated in the efforts for decolonization. So when the World War ends in 1945 with the defeat of Benito Mussolini and Adolf Hitler on the one hand, you can see Ethiopia emerging almost as an African power with unique credentials. And these unique credentials are informed by the history and by the fact that they had succeeded in defeating this power whose activities were known to be inimical to the interest of Africa. And those credentials are the credentials that therefore gives Emperor Haile Selassie the moral high ground, which moral high ground he then uses to be the host of the first African heads of states meeting, which ensures that 32 heads of state meet in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. And if only to go outside of the subject of Ethiopia and Italy, it must be remembered that at that time, the two leading leaders, Gamal Abdel Nasser of Egypt and Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana, had wanted the meeting to be held. Ghana in Accra, Gamal Abdel Nasser in Cairo, but Haile Selassie said, "Here I am, come to Addis." That history is what makes Ethiopia a standout country, because they defeated the fascist Italians.
And we're very thankful, royal family, for such information. And again, this is the Tiger's Nest Honorable Priest Isaac here with you. And of course, before I give my commentary on the whole subject, let me just invite everyone once again. This is as simple can get. All you have to do is email us, priestisaacInstitute@gmail.com. There's no charge for anything here. Registration is free. The launch is free. In fact, to subscribe to the Ambassador's Pen, the magazine, is free. The magazine itself is free. The magazine Kidemi, you can subscribe to that as well. Guess what? It's free. And the magazine Kidemi, all of that, it is free. You understand? This is the age of information, royal family. And we are encouraging our children to continue the art of reading. Albeit you may be looking into a light bulb, because that's what the laptop screen is, and the phone screen and all of that. It's a light inside of it. If the light goes out, if the bulb was to blow, as we say, you can't see anything. So we're looking into a light. Not really good for the eyes. But since everyone is doing it, it's nice to watch a documentary, but let us continue the art of reading. That is why we created the magazines. So we're going to have the official launch of the magazine, The Ambassador's Pen, on the 21st day of April. It's a Monday, 7 p.m. I'm talking Eastern Standard Time. And listen, royal family, for sure, you're going to have a wonderful seminar. We're not just going to be showing you the magazine, We're going to have special speakers there as well. Special presenters. You're going to definitely be surprised when you figure out and find out who will be in the house with us. So make sure that you are in the house yourself. You understand? All you have to do to register, again, is to contact us, email us, priestisaacInstitute@gmail.com. And of course, it is nice that you are going to be there at the launch. but it will be great if you are in the Ambassador's Pen magazine at the launch. Eh? And of course, that is nothing hard to do neither. Now, this is not free. But of course, as they say, the buck got to stop somewhere or at least start somewhere. But for sure, very, very convenient, very inexpensive, especially for the sort of promotion you're going to get. Listen, family, I must say this before I go into the subject, man. Just to be in the magazines at this point, you may not see it, but a lot of work is going on behind the scenes here. You understand? A lot of outreach. I mean, the type of companies and organizations that we are touching base with. The Honorable Empress Naya, just in her persona alone, as event manager and even literally manager in general of all that we do. The sort of companies, individuals, organizations that we touch base with that literally are looking to work and cooperate with us in the very near future. You understand? People that will obviously patronize who they see in our magazine, you know, marinas and resorts and hotels and embassies. That's why it's the ambassador's pen. So we are literally linking with many different embassies across the world. So my family, the point is, man, there's a lot going on. And your network, hear this one, man, your network is your net worth. How many of you have heard that one? Maybe you've heard it from me. Your network. I don't know where we are. Eh? I know some of us, we're very strong into religion and belief and all of that good stuff. I'm totally the biggest fan of theology, not necessarily religion and surely not belief, but theology. But at the same time, theology is taking your talents to make talents. You remember that. Take your talents to make talents. So this is why from time to time we have to go into the subject area of our economic growth. We don't seem to like that kind of subject. I don't know why. We're not into too much of that. We just like to survive, and once we're okay, and yeah, that's good enough. But we're not into the thriving concept. We don't want to feed 10 other families like how we feed our own. In fact, we just like we are happy just getting by. So we're not really thinking about freedom and redemption and international repatriation. At most, we're trying to get a ticket to go to Africa, which obviously is not good enough. That's the gold that many of us have. You understand? And at least you have that goal, because some not even thinking about Africa. I wonder if you understand what I'm saying, family. The point I am making is that we need to think bigger. Yeah, but for the subject we have tonight, I may have digressed, but we still need to think bigger. So for sure, I would encourage you to advertise in the ambassador's pen. And again, you're not just going in the magazine to sit down. Remember, we will be promoting you on Instagram. We'll be promoting you right here. Some of you know about the different businesses because you watch you understand. So that's more promotion for them. You get in mileage on TikTok, whether you're into TikTok or not. Other people are into TikTok. You're getting mileage on Facebook. You're getting mileage on LinkedIn and X and R and X and Y and Z. Wherever it is, we're definitely there. As I said, lectures, seminars, book launches, prize giving ceremonies. So you'll be anywhere we are. That's the kind of love we give to the people that come on board, patronize us. This, again, your network is your net worth. All right. I think I took some time to go into that. That was necessarily a part of the script, but so you go. So yeah, the ambassador's pen. Make sure you register today. Now, the good brother PLO Lamumba was, speaking of the Italian invasion of Ethiopia. Well, he was highlighting the what some call the first invasion, which is the Battle of Adwa. Now, it is really a battle, you know. The Battle of Adwa was not necessarily the war, you know. In fact, Menelik took months with his entourage to march to Adwa from Addis Ababa to commence this battle. And several battles took place leading up to that. But the Battle of Adwa was the decisive battle that without a doubt destroyed the Italians. Now, as you heard the good professor said, which many people were not aware, uh, um, the Ethiopians literally had more troops than the Italians. In fact, I think the Italians were somewhat saying, well, you know, because the Italians obviously had stronger machinery. In fact, it is said that they had the strongest standing army on Africa, on African soil, pardon me, at the time. So the Italians came in and said, nah, we can take it, man, because we have more, more machine power, which they did. But I'm telling you, even if they came with the same amount of soldiers or more, they would have still been defeated by the Ethiopians because the Ethiopians have this love for country, have this strong patriotic energy, drive, resilience. Again, I will repeat, love that runs through their vein. It's in their blood. And they do not play around. They can turn savage on you in a moment when it comes to defending their country. Listen, Ethiopians, I'm reaching out to all Ethiopians. If you are an Ethiopian, and when I say an Ethiopian, I mean an individual that is born in the land of Ethiopia as such, as an African, or you have direct ties to such a land. Now, I know everyone is going to say, well, we're all Ethiopians. Even Chinese people and white people are Ethiopians because that is the origin of humankind. And everyone came out of that original human. I totally understand that. I'm not going to even try to wrestle you down, you see? But at this moment, even though you may be an Ethiopian because you consider yourself black and you were born in Tortola, or you were born in Trinidad, but you are Ethiopian from origin. I agree with all of that. And this message is really for every person on the planet, really, you know. But at the same time, I want to home in on. Let me repeat, this message is for everyone on the planet. You understand? But at this time, I still want to home in on the people that refer to themselves as not just Ethiopian from origin, but nationality because they were born there or their direct parents were born there and maybe they just happen to be born somewhere else for one reason or the other. You get what I'm saying? So they have people that were born in the Sudan, even in Eritrea and in other places, but because of their parents' origin, or at least their grandparents' origin, they hold on firm, looking to repatriate, whether it's to Ethiopia. They have Somalians in Ethiopia that consider themselves Somalians, even though they were born in Ethiopia, but that's where their parents come from. So there's a whole psychology behind of this. That's what I'm saying. And in many cases, it's just because of a line, the border line. But the people in Somalia, the people in Ethiopia, in fact, a large part of Ethiopia is occupied by the Somali people, the Isaac people, also known as the Isaac people, the Somali people, the Ogaden. That's why there's always this tension in the Ogaden over the rights of the land, you know. So it's a deep thing, royal family, when you understand the people in Eritrea. It's the same Tigrayan people, ain't nothing too great and different. You find them in Somalia. Not well, yes, in Somalia, pardon me, but you find them in Djibouti, which is still Somalia. You find them in what's that other place over there now, where all the fight. You find them in the Sudan. One people, you look at them, many of you, when you look at an Ethiopian, you say, hey, that's an Ethiopian. Am I correct? Come on, tell me the truth. Many of you say, boy, them Ethiopians have a specific look. Am I correct? Right? Good. Them is the people I talking to. Now, as I was saying earlier, give thanks also for Brother PLO Lumumba for such mighty words. You know, he's a brother that I listen to from time to time. And it always pleases me when he highlights Emperor Haile Selassie the first. I will tell you why, with all respect to him. I would notice in his narrative the achievements of Haile Selassie I is not usually on the front of his burner as such. For whatever reason, I'm not too sure. As I said, I would listen to him. I may not have read many of his works, so I'm not trying to be a critic of the great professor at all. This is just something I would have observed. So I'm just showing you that I always delight when I hear him mention Haile Selassie's name. If you notice, even within this conversation, the emperor was not really mentioned that much in the narrative of what really went down between Italy and Ethiopia. You know, let's just be truthful. The brother is a big fan of Kwame Nkrumah, Nkrumah, which he called Nkrumah. I cannot say it like how the brother says it, but I mean, he's a different soul altogether. And he usually highlights Julius Nyerere. And he's also a big fan, it seems, of Jomo Kenyatta. Even Gamal of Egypt seems to be found a lot in his narrative. And again, as I said, obviously, he's a man I respect. But somehow the emperor and his accomplishments, because you see, the war in 1936 to 41, many of us overlook the contribution that the emperor gave to make sure and ensure that Mussolini was defeated. To be very honest, most of us, we totally missed the train. And I think if we have not read the autobiography part 1 and 2 religiously of Haile Selassie I, we're never going to really comprehend what the emperor went through to ensure that Ethiopia was kept independent. So, for example, my Ethiopian brothers and sisters, the good Patrice, the good PLO Lumumba, he just said Haile Selassie went to Britain seeking exile. I mean, I'm a bit disappointed in that statement there. You know, uh, if we're going to get into semantics and be precise with the words, okay, yes, the emperor did buy Bath, it's not somebody give him, it's the man money he take and he bought the property at Fairfields. So the fact that he buy a house, well, he looking to get comfortable there. He's looking to settle down. Yes, because that was the situation he found himself in. But I know for sure from his own writing, we all understand the emperor didn't leave Ethiopia seeking for exile. That's for sure. He was seeking for justice for his people that was suffering under the illegal activities of war at the hands of Italy. Illegal activities of war. Imagine that. War has rules. And these killers were breaking the rules when they were attacking Ethiopia. And the emperor himself had the scars to testify to what I'm saying. So he didn't go to make his bed in England at all. If he could have passed through without, shutting his eyes, he would have done that. His mission was to reach to the podium of Geneva, Switzerland, the League of Nations, and speak to them in a pure language from beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, according to the book of Zephaniah. That was his plan. That was the plan. And put on the table the charter of justice and collective security that they themselves would have put together and say, yeah, this is how we're going to run the world now. Yeah, nobody's supposed to attack nobody else in problems with us, except Ethiopia. Well, that wasn't in the clause. It wasn't written in, but it appears as if that was an unseen and foregone conclusion, because Ethiopia was perfect, or the perfect opportunity for the League of Nations to prove that they are standing on the principles that they would have set. But they failed. They dropped the ball. As the commentator said in the BBC documentary, the league was dead. No, hold on. Let's get it properly. They did not answer, and there could be none. The league was dead. Yeah, the league was dead. Who killed the league? It's after the King's speech, the man said, the league was dead. Family, you see, we're very physical in our outlook. So Menelik II and his entourage and Ras Mokenin and Ras Alula and Empress Taitu and the king of Gojam, what's his name there again? Yeah, him, Tekla Haimanot. Yeah. Mangeshu, or Mengesha, pardon me, Mengesha Johannes, the son of the great Johannes IV, all stalwarts of the Battle of Adwa, and of course, Ras Mokenen the Great. All, did I call him already? Well, he's worth calling again. All stalwarts, heroes of the Battle of Adwa, riding on their horses, victorious. Yeah, swords in hand and musket, and from sunrise to sunset. By twilight, we have the Italians running. Man, that is something that, that's what heroes are made of. So obviously, I'm the biggest fan of the Battle of Adwa. Menelik II is here. You must understand this, and the resounding victory that again we had over the Romans. In fact, what about just a few years before that? The Battle of Dogali. Remember the Battle of Dogali? That one was in 5 minutes. That done in 5 minutes, over 500 Italians were slaughtered by the hands of General Ras Alula. I think that's the year before Menelik II came to power. It was Emperor Johannes IV that was emperor at the time, but he could hardly take credit for that victory, with no disrespect to the great Lion of Judah. But I don't even think he knew what was going on at the time when Alula was ripping up them Italians. Further south it was, in Dogali. 5 minutes. 5 minutes, eh? 500 Italians were dead, 100 a minute. And that's before Adawa. That is before Adawa. Okay. So there are several victories that we have where we have been keeping off the Romans. And in the same way, we could have given all credit to Dogali, but no, how could we give credit to Dogali alone when after Dogali, after Ras Alula's Dogali or Johannes's Dogali came Menelik's Adowa. And we all know what happened at Menelik's Adowa. And listen, before I move on from Menelik's Adowa, as I said, we are speaking to the Ethiopians. You understand? So whether you are Amhara, them Ethiopians I talking about. Whether you are a Roma, those are the people I'm targeting right now in this discussion. Or you are Tigrayan, for sure. All 12% of you. Whether you are, who else they have there? Afar, Somali, and all the different factions of Ethiopians that you have, you must understand, with all the flags that you're waving, your strength is in your unity. And that is the proof that we can bring and put on the table that Menelik II would have showed us. That is why, as Bobo Shanti, we rise Menelik II's banner in the order that he rises. When he defeated Italy, he rose the red, gold, and green with the red upstand. That's Menelik II. It's after he would have laid his structure in 1913 that the Council of Churches, the Church Council would have reversed the tripartite, tricolored, pardon me, the tricolored banner. Whether you think it's right or wrong, don't be too quick to debate. I didn't say that to debate at all. I was just showing you that Menelik's flag is the red up flag after he defeated the Italians. That's history, eh? Good. So give thanks to the Honorable Priest Merritt. So I'm just trying to Anthony Merritt, who wrote the beautiful book highlighting the flags of Ethiopia. So we did a beautiful lecture with him, interview on our YouTube channel. Very simple to find. Anthony Priest Merritt, Priest Isaac, and it will show up. So, family, I want you to comprehend the importance of unity, because it was the unified Ethiopia that kept the Aroma free, that kept the Tigrayan people free, that kept the people of Afar free, that kept the Amhara people free, that kept all of the different factions or ethnic groups, tribes, whatever term you want to use, they all were kept free. The different kingdoms were kept free because Menelik, the king of kingdoms, had the ability to unify the kingdoms into an empire. That's why the king of the kingdoms is the emperor. So that is order coming out of chaos, In many cases, chaos would bring order to your life if you know how to handle it. So, of course, the Italians invaded. The Italians breaking the Treaty of Wachali, or being sneaky on the Treaty of Wachali, coming to cheat us. You understand? Yeah. At the same time, Menelik II was wise and a real astute general and a great diplomat and a mighty negotiator. So this is how he would have even turned his arch enemy, Johannes Mengesha Johannes, when the British came in. Mengasha Johannes' father, what's his name? Johannes IV, the emperor, would have made way for them to go and do what they please with Emperor Theodore. They thought that Ras Mengesha Johannes would have done the same. So they came and whispered into, his ears and, hey, I mean, guns and ammunition and patties and cakes for you if you just let us go and deal with old Menelik down the road there. Mengesha said, no, who you talking about? Hey, get out of here. Pow, pow, pow. Kill a couple of them one time. Yeah, news went back to Tigray. Not Tigray, what's the place? The Eritrea, because that's the Italians' uh, colony, Eritrea. I say, hey, Ras Johannes, the son of Emperor Johannes, he's not with us anymore. He's with Menelik II. You understand? So Menelik II, as a diplomat, had that ability to bring everyone together. Ethiopians, you understand what I'm saying? So this thing about, Ethiopia saved the whole of Africa from becoming a European colony, which is all true. But how did that happen? Of course, there are several things that really were a part of the whole makeup of this accomplishment. But the unity was a main ingredient in the pot, coming together. Again, the king of Shoah and the king of, Wolo and the king of Gojam or Ras Mikael, which became Negus Mikael also, another hero of Adawa. And these individuals united, no problem, no fighting. Whatever old scuffle we had, we putting it aside to beat down Rome, because if we did not do that, nobody would be talking about, oh, Ethiopia was this unconquered country, because they would pick us off, like how you see a loggerhead bird pick off the evening fly. You understand? Those of you who know what I'm talking about, you see the flies hovering around in the evening and the birds just come and pick them off. You understand what I'm saying? The same way you see the swordfish pick off the sardines in the whole shoal of fish, one by one. The Italians would have done that. But what they met when they came was a unified Voltron, Omega Supreme on them. I hope everyone is blessed. Eh? All right. Now, what I'm saying, Royal Family, give thanks. But it didn't stop there. How many of you watch boxing? Hmm? I'm not the greatest boxing fan, that's for sure. But I grew up looking at boxing, you know, from the days of Sugar Ray Leonard and those things. But I was no big boxing fan. I was definitely a wrestling fan, that's for sure. Oh yeah, man. Even today, every now and again, I just take a look back. I don't look at that now. No, I don't look at that now. I was watching wrestling when people thought it was real, and people would have debates over that stuff, So I'm way back in the Ric Flair and the Four Horsemen and the that kind of stuff. But anyway, so I'm showing you now. Where was I going with that point now? There was a point behind of that point. I don't know how I got there, but yeah, there was a point behind of that point. Well, oh, yes. The boxing. I'm sure many of you know George Foreman would have passed just the other day, about maybe a little more than a week ago. And again, I was saying I'm not that great, like this massive boxing fan. But I know I used to watch a lot of Mike Tyson. I guess it was just the thrill of Mike Tyson, and yeah, Mike Tyson, and I guess the age that I was at, Mike Tyson, bam, bam, Mike Tyson. So once it was Mike Tyson, and that wouldn't really come over television, we would have to go somewhere and watch it on pay-per-view. where crowds were gathered in some casino or some hotel lobby, some kind of place you had to pay to watch it. But we are always there to see, a good old Mike Tyson. Now, I was just saying that, um, what's his name there, the one that just passed, George Foreman. I was watching a documentary on the life of George Foreman just the other day. And I must say, I never really knew. I wasn't aware of the changes he went through, even as a boxer, into somewhat of a more elderly person. I remember as a youth, he was doing the hamburger stuff, and I know he had four sons by the name of George, but that's the most I would know about this George Foreman. Again, I wasn't following no boxing. But for those who do not know, after he was defeated in the Congo by Muhammad Ali for the world's heavyweight championship, he lost it to Muhammad Ali, the Rumble in the Jungle. He said he was very furious at Muhammad Ali. He said he would kill him if he had a chance. And he was always seeking to get this rematch from Muhammad Ali. I don't think he ever got the rematch from Muhammad Ali, but he he went through a change in his life. Like he became a preacher, he gained weight. So that bald head George Foreman that you see in the latter time, that was actually a transition he went through. He didn't just get so. And after I watched the whole documentary, and he actually turned from this somewhat of a vicious kind of street killer. He became very pet-like when he won the Olympic championship. And he said he got this strong love and patriotism for nation and president and so and so. But when he went into the professional arena now, going for the championship, that whole gangster self came back, and man, he just had wanted to kill people and kill people. He said when he lost to Muhammad Ali, man, the real gangster came into him and he could take him out. Yeah, he said he gave his life to Christ and he became this gentle giant. He stopped boxing, he made friends with Muhammad Ali, and even to his dying day, he has so much respect for Muhammad Ali. He said Muhammad Ali was more than just a boxer, but I'm just saying that I myself, after watching the documentary, I must say I found a certain level of respect somewhere in my heart for George Foreman and just the sort of character he kind of morphed into. And because this is not really the topic of tonight, I don't want to try to kill the story here. But maybe it's something you would have to witness for yourself. Maybe you lived it. Maybe you understand it more than I did. I was just learning of his whole transformation by looking at that documentary. Yeah. But anyway, the main point was he wanted a rematch. He would follow Muhammad Ali anywhere he went. So when he was fighting in Vegas, when he was fighting in Madison Square Garden, there is George Foreman with the afro now and the mustache, not the big fat, no, well, the big heavy George Foreman with the bald head. You understand? And he would go one time, Muhammad Ali was dissing him so much. Muhammad Ali was very sharp with tongue that George said, man, if he had a chance, he would kill him then and there. And they actually started to fight. And people had to come between them and hold him back. But he wanted a rematch. Family, those of you who think that the Battle of Adwa is what kept Ethiopia from becoming a colony of Italy. When Mussolini invaded in 1935, 1936, that was the rematch from the Battle of Adwa. They went to Adwa itself to start their massacre, to plant their flag and say, yeah, victory. Of course, it wasn't victory, you know, but just to say, yeah, we conquer here. Let's go for the rest of Ethiopia. Now listen, I'm asking the question. So if Italy came back for revenge, so that means there was another battle. So the Battle of Adwa was not the decisive battle. It was a decisive battle. But as it relates to Ethiopia's freedom from the hands of the colonializers, that was not the decisive battle. This is what I'm talking about, family. And this is why even the Ethiopians who I am reaching out to, this is why we need to have high respect for Kidemi Haile Selassie. Because who is it now? Rasalula is the hero of Dogali. Menelik II is the hero of Adwa. So who is it? Who is the hero? Who is the hero of the what history calls the Second Italian Ethiopian War? Who is the history of that? The hero of that one, the war that started World War II, the war that started World War II. You go and read about World War II. It is as if Haile Selassie never existed, eh? The war that started World War II. So who's the hero of that war? King George? No, I'm serious. No, I'm not even playing. Somebody defeated Mussolini. Who defeated Mussolini? Give me an understanding. Colonel Sandiford? What about, what's his name? General Cunningham. Who defeated Mussolini and the Italians? Was it a collaboration of forces? Oh, yes. That's it, brother. It was a collaboration of forces. Well, I mean, come on, family. Menelik II alone didn't defeat the Italians at all. It was a collaboration, you know. If we were going to call every name that was there, ridiculous, isn't it? Okay. You know, there are people on the battlefield, the names never called, and they slew at least 10 Italians. They need to be recognized too, but the Menelik get all the praise. And Rasmus Kennan, and a few other good people. It's with understanding. The names I just called, even down to King, what's his name, George. The reason why I said King George is because many people consider that England came into Ethiopia to save the Ethiopians and to put Haile Selassie back on the throne. That is why when we use these terms, even the good professor said and Haile Selassie was restored to the throne. Not that the phrase is wrong, you know, but because of the circumstances of our conditioning of the mind, we have to be careful how we say it. I don't think he's trying to say it in the way that the world would want you to believe, as if Britain restored him to his throne. No, man, family, no. Take it easy. Stop it. Stop it. Let us take our time and understand history. Listen, 1940, the 10th of June, according to history, that's the day Marcus Garvey died. You read the autobiography of the king. That is the day that the king said he began to prepare himself to return to Ethiopia. That very day, he was in England and Garvey was in England. That very day. That's the day when Mussolini made it clear that he's with Hitler, and Hitler took Poland and Austria and the Rhineland at the time. And according to the BBC reporter in the documentary Lion on Judah, it's really Lion on Judah, but I call it Lion on Judah. According to him, and finally, the world woke up. When did the world wake up? On the 10th of June. This is something else. When Garvey dies, Garvey shall live. But then again, maybe another subject for another time. But of course, not another time. We've covered that several times. How many of you have a copy of The Night of the Black Tiger? That is our full-length documentary, our third full-length documentary, The Divinity of Marcus Messiah Garvey. So when the war really kick off now in Europe, but war was going on all the time. But now Britain and France enter the war proper. It's World War now. Britain and France enter the war, so it's World War. All the time it was just people fighting. Hitler was already doing his stuff in the man, but no World War started yet. Spain was under some serious turmoil when what's his name came to power, Franco, but no World War started yet. You understand? But once you step on King George's toes, World War began. Now hear this, family. You see, after the 10th of June, if Churchill, who was prime minister at the time, was to come knocking on Haile Selassie's door on the 11th of June and said, Emperor Haile Selassie, we are ready to assist you to go back to Ethiopia. If the emperor would have said, you know, man, you know, Winston, I must say, I like it in England. I think I'm going to just cool out here. Them fellas would get on their knees right away. Tears, you ever watch them cartoon? Tears would be coming out of their eyes. They would be begging Haile Selassie, oh, no, 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 please, no, don't do us this. No, 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 no. We need you. And this is the aspect of this whole situation that we fail to understand. We have this narrative as if Britain just got kind-hearted and said, oh, he's been here long enough. Let's carry the old chap out. Eh? And what's worse is that there are those of us who are supposed to be intellects in a man and scholars and all sort of stuff. And even though we may not grind that point in the minds of our people, but we overlook. We just happen to skip over, you know what I mean, the duties that was carried out by the King of Kings, ever so dutiful as a monarch, ever so dutiful as a monarch, Haile Selassie the first. So if the king just backs and relax and say, yo, Winston, I said I'm not going, I'm safe. Yeah. Of course, you know the king not doing that. The king don't have no time to even play games with them. But the point I'm making is that they needed Haile Selassie. I don't know if we understand what was going on. You know, bombs were dropping in England now. England was at war now. France and England were trying to hold on to the skirt of Mussolini. You know, that's why they eventually recognized Mussolini's annexation of Ethiopia, because they did not really want to upset Mussolini, especially when he started the power with Hitler. So they were trying their best to tiptoe around it. Family, understand geopolitics. That's why you should read The Ambassador's Pen. You understand? You know. So geopolitics and history, the ambassador's pen. So when Hitler made those moves, they decided that no, 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 we have to stop them or else it's the end of us. Not world peace. They were not interested in world peace before. But once it came to their doors, we had to do something about it for our peace. And that's all. And they had to begin, they didn't have a choice by getting rid of Mussolini in the Horn of Africa. As I said, they did not have a choice. It's something that just had to have been done. Again, when you understand the war itself, they have some intricate details about it. Because remember, the emperor left England in a flying plane on the nightfall. Left Bath on his way out, jokey thing, no pack bag business, move. The emperor was in Sudan for, I think it's 10 months. The British were still dragging their feet, because at the same time, they wanted to colonize Ethiopia now. And you see, this is what I'm trying to show you. Britain could not have gone into Ethiopia by themselves, no matter how much tanks and bombs and jets they had. Mussolini had the same, and Mussolini could not conquer Ethiopia. Yeah, I mean, he did some damage in it, man. But everybody understand the history today. Mussolini could not conquer Ethiopia as if he conquered the land. Brother Patrick Lumumba just explained it to you. He couldn't shift the language. He couldn't shake the culture. Many other aspects he just couldn't move. What kind of conquering is that? Couldn't conquer the people. Britain coming in would have total quagmire because the Ethiopians would attack them as well. Without the leadership of Haile Selassie I, you go and read the history books. Churchill understood this. Churchill knew that it was necessary for us to get Haile Selassie I. Number one, obviously, he is the general, understanding the terrain. There's no way on earth they could have made it. And the emperor himself went on the front line once again. Remember all the communications to all the patriots to come out. There's no way on earth England with all their tanks and everything could have done the damage that they would like to have done to the Italians to even win the wider war. Because remember, England was fighting a wider war. When they done fighting Ethiopia, they had more fighting to go and do, man. Ethiopia didn't have no fighting to go and do. Ethiopia started to rebuild like a nest of ants while the rest of the world fighting it out. While the rest of Europe, which is essentially the rest of the world because Europe had the world, was fighting it out, Rastaman. While Ethiopia was settling down, counting her loss, burying her dead, mourning for her ancestors, and started to put bricks upon bricks, mortar upon mortar. They started to rebuild. Within 7 to 8 years, Ethiopia was already a shining example. Within 7 to 8 years after Mussolini's destruction of our land, Ethiopia was already a shining example for the world. World War II was just kind of coming to an end. Do you know Ethiopia was rising quicker than Europe after the war? And keep in mind, Europe was there to help Europe. Ethiopia had to pull itself up by its own bootstraps. Another African country couldn't help Ethiopia. They were all colonialized by the same Britain, by the same France, Spain, and whoever else have you. This is the reality of geopolitics. That's why we need to study, family. This little thing, and we just chatting, and not understanding the depths of what it is that we're supposed to believe in. We should have a clear understanding, even the scriptures. Study yourself to show yourself approved, or study to show yourself approved. Now, outside of the genius on the battlefield, in fact, let us get to some of the genius aspects of his genius on the battlefield. Haile Selassie, I'm speaking of. Again, the autobiography highlighted. When he entered into Sudan, you know, the propaganda that the king would have had to implement. He gave the British colonels and generals their marching orders. It is he they communicated with, even when you look on some of these videos, you would see, as I said, Colonel, what's his name, Wingate and Sanderford and Wavell and these ones sitting with the emperor, getting instructions of exactly which direction to go with the army. Because you see now, when the emperor was on the battlefield, in the first instance, before he went into England and before he went and spoke to the League of Nations, the emperor was not just on the front line in the sense of on the battlefield, you know, but literally on the front line, like could get hit first. And we would have seen this in the different movie tone newsreels that you find even on the internet today. You see, the propaganda against the emperor wasn't really heavy in the sense that when he went into exile as such, everybody understood that this was the emperor that was on the battlefield. He was literally given high respect for that, for being on the battlefield with his soldiers, because remember, this is what you saw on the news, the emperor on the battlefield. King George don't go to no battlefield. That's why during World War II, you see King George in his military suit and walking through the aftermath of the battle. But while the battle is going on, licking planes out of the sky, Haile Selassie was on the battlefield. He has the literal scars, you know, for months. So the world understood this. That's how reporters spoke of him, you know. And here comes Haile Selassie, the saddest man in the world. And you could see he's really tired. He was on the battlefield. And he has the scars and the bruises to prove it. And coming straight from the battlefield into exile, all these kind of, you know, word sound you get from them as it relates to the emperor. So this was for sure. But here, this the man, when he returned now, still on the battlefield, you know, but the emperor did not have to lift a gun. When he returned, he didn't have to lift a gun. No cuts, no bruise, nothing, you know. Because he came with, as he put it, the might of Britain. And this might of Britain is not just heavy tanks and planes, you know. Remember, Britain was running the world. You had soldiers from Kenya. You have the Ugandan troop. You have, where else Britain had in charge? From Tanzania, all over Africa, the troops were there, some black soldiers in coming into Ethiopia to assist Ethiopia to run out the aggressor. See how mystic it is? All of Africa came together even to run out the aggressor, because it's African people they are, from Kenya, from Uganda, from Tanzania, you know, where else? Where else, ever else, Ghanaian soldiers, you know, came in because they were British subjects to assist in the war. And the emperor at the helm, showing all of these British generals and captains and lieutenants how to run the war. And the emperor didn't have to hold no heat in his hand, not even for a second. I mean, no heat can even reach to him now, because he's so well protected and well surrounded, just giving orders and clearing the way to go and sit on the throne. But before, before he left Ethiopia, the king was scarred, and he got mustard gas on him, and he had the damaged hands that you heard the lady speak of in the video, footsteps of the emperor, and all of these different things the emperor went through. So you must be able to look at the two sides of the event and understand the difference of how he came in. So it took a certain level of military understanding and patience. Family, no one. We need to come to grips with this. This wasn't a case of luck. This was not a case of, oh, well, Britain came and helped. No, man. No. No matter who you were to put on the throne of all the emperors they have. And listen, I don't want to be so presumptuous to even make it appear as if I'm downplaying anyone. But it's because I understand the weight and the enormity of the work and even the responsibility that Haile Selassie had upon his shoulders and on his head. I understand it. I cannot see no other king being the king of Ethiopia during that time and Ethiopia still being unconquered. Ones say that up to today, man, even when the emperor came back victorious, they had people saying that he should not have left. He was supposed to stay and die on the battlefield. Oh, yeah. And how would that turn out? Would you still be Battle of Adwa? How would that turn out? And again, if you read in the autobiography, the emperor was not waiting for Hitler and Mussolini to make these moves for him to return to Africa. If you understand what was taking place, the emperor was already on the brink of telling those who were with him, hey, it's time for us to go back in and die with our people. Yeah, it's right there. Read it in the autobiography. The emperor was ready to go in and die with his people. Even when they were in Sudan, they were waiting patiently for, specific things that were supposed to come via the British. Because remember, Britain run Sudan at the time. So they were preparing for this onslaught on Italy, and the king was waiting for 10 months. Even then, and correspondence and this man flying down from Egypt to talk to him. All Egypt was under, the British rule. And then they go back. And so it was a lot of back and forth, and it was somewhat frustrating. The emperor would have explained in his book the way that they would have dealt with this thing. They don't understand how important, getting this thing done as quick as possible was. So even when they were in Sudan and he was with Ras and these great ones, they were contemplating, hey, we can't wait on them, If we have to go in and die with our people. So they were back to that again, going in and dying with their people. So the emperor, Rastafari, let me tell you, was no way different than Menelik II and Rasmussen and all of these ones who were suicidal and had no problem dying on the battlefield. We ain't got no problem with that. That's no big thing. But we wiser than that. Dying on the battlefield not gonna help nobody. Living on the battlefield is what win the war. So this is what the emperor understood. And it was a wise mind that went into so-called exile. It was a wise mind that appeared before the League of Nations. All of that is chess. That's the king of the board there. Chess, the king playing with them. Psyche, in their psyches, in their mind, is in their thoughts. And even though, remember one man even said, one general even said to one of the, I think it was Baseu, Ras Baseu, I think his name was. They ended up in Sudan, and the British soldier was supposedly helping them, and they needed the help quicker. And the British soldiers said, man, just cool out the man. Everybody know that Haile Selassie is not going to ever return to Ethiopia. So ones in their sympathy and love for the King of Kings already gave up on him. That was the dead Christ resurrected. Let me tell you that. Yeah. The one that was in the tomb that no one expect to see again. And we want to play that down, not under my watch. We want to tell the story and still don't tell the story, not under my watch. Very sorry. Because Haile Selassie is to be praised, worthy of praise, and highly exalted. I'm not talking of religion here. So all you Ethiopians that are proud of your history and you don't have Haile Selassie on the pinnacle, you don't understand your own history. I'm telling you. And don't tell me nothing about, well, you're Tigray and you're this and that. Menelik II brought all of you together to defend the history. That's why you have never lost your independence. Yeah? That's why your brothers in the Ogaden and the Aroma land, and the brothers in the ancestors, pardon me, of Amhara descent or ethnicity, and the Afar tribes and all of these people. That's why they never lost their independence. Some of you who are ethnically tied to the people in Eritrea, they lost their independence. I mean, just think about it. Just concentrate on this. And it was unity. It was unity that kept you and the people that you have a problem with now, because their ethnicity is different and you have a different flag in the same Ethiopia. It's unity that your forefathers had amongst themselves that kept you free. And this is why I'm telling you, Ethiopians, unity is what's going to keep you free and keep you prospering. It will not happen in the divided sort of structure that many of you are trying to create in your own country. You really need to take the example of the Battle of Adwa. You really need to take the example of Menelik II. Haile Selassie I had to somewhat renew the whole mission of Menelik II when Mussolini attacked Ethiopia in 35-36, and he had to go to the different tribes, the different ethnic groups. He went to Harar, went to Afar, different places to speak to the chiefdom, to speak to the kingship, to ask for unity once more, for the invading enemy is here again. So it took a lot of wisdom just to even be in exile and manning the ship diplomatically. There was no other greater diplomat. Haile Selassie was the ambassador of Ethiopia to the world at that time. There was no other greater diplomat for Ethiopia's cause than Haile Selassie. Anybody gonna disagree with me? If anybody disagree with me, put it in the chat, let me see. There was no other greater diplomat. If you agree with me, put it in the chat, let me see. There was no other greater diplomat for the cause of Ethiopia's liberation than Emperor Haile Selassie I. I'm talking about during the time of the war. The king wasn't in England's in no hammock, daily working, daily writing letters, daily back and forth to London, and maybe not daily, but in the right season to speak to this and to speak to that and to get an audience with this and an audience with that, and to keep in contact with his exiles and keep in contact with the people in Jerusalem and Kenya and Sudan and Egypt and so many exiles all over the world looking for him, and even his fighters on the ground in Gorre and in Sidimo and different places writing him letters saying, please, Your Majesty, please speak to the League of the Nations for our cause, because they already promised us weapons. If you read some of the letters, I could imagine how the emperor feel reading these letters, knowing all what he doing and his people writing him, please, and please, that's what I said, please speak to the League of Nations. But they understood, because within the letter they clearly say, but we know Your Majesty is fighting for the cause of your people, and we look forward to see you again, and XYZ. And to be honest, you could see in the latter time that some of them began to lose the faith. Even if we don't see you again, imagine that. So the fact that you start to write that. Yeah, man. So Ethiopians, we have to find a greater heart space for Emperor Haile Selassie the First. Come on, don't tell me you disagree, Ethiopians. We need to find a greater heart space. If we're gonna try to idolize somebody for our total independence, well, Haile Selassie is the man. Because we must understand, after the Battle of Adwa, Africa was still not free. Britain did team up with Italy right after the Battle of Adwa. They were supposed to attack again on the 31st day of March. Interesting, that's today. Yeah, they were supposed to go, let me see how it is. An airstrip they were supposed to use in Djibouti and launch a next attack on Ethiopia. So the rematch was coming in quick time. And an advisor advised them that no, allow Italy to recuperate, get strong, and then, launch a next attack, which they did. About 40 years after, they really made sure they got strong, and they came back real strong. Real strong. No disrespect, man. Put Menelik II in Haile Selassie's case. The outcome may have been different. Put Rasmussen in anybody with that kind of mentality, as genius as they are, the outcome may be different. But because it took a real patient and wise mind to maneuver the wicked of the world, to keep Ethiopia's plight on the forefront of world's agenda alone was such a massive fight. And someone had to do it. It had to be done. And then to be wise enough now to understand geopolitically what is happening. Nobody had to call him in. The moment he heard that Hitler had entered the Rhineland, the emperor said that was it. Nobody had to send him no telegram. He started, I think he went right away to London to see the Home Secretary. You think we have time to play? Yeah. So we give thanks, Royal Family. Give thanks for great understanding. Oh, we definitely give thanks for Brother PLO Lumumba for his sharp and wonderful words. And if I ever get the chance to sit with that brother there, I'm telling you, I would love our conversation just to be on Haile Selassie alone. You know, no Kwame, Nkrumah, nobody else. Just Haile Selassie alone. To see exactly. I haven't received from all his great speeches his depths of how his outlook, I should say, not his depths, but his outlook on Negus and Negus, the King of Kings. But Ethiopians, we need to step up when it comes to revering our king, and that is all in the plan for the future. So I'm very thankful. What a joy. Of course, Empress Menin's Earth Day is at hand. Somebody might be saying, again, you celebrated that the other day. Well, you know how it is. This one now is the real one, I think. The other one was the real one too, Well, the two of them can't be the real one. But you see, it's a mistake, Not a mistake now, it's a mistake. But for sure, between the 2nd and the 3rd of April is, I think, when officially the celebration of Empress Menen goes to the earth. So we're very thankful for the mother crowned with the father. It speaks volumes, really. So Empress Menen, Ethiopians, what are we talking about? Empress Menen, Ethiopians. I'm talking about the Ethiopians in Ethiopia that consider themselves patriarchs. You Tigrayans, you Amharas, the whole works of you. Empress Menen, Haile Selassie, I'm happy that we are now trying our best to revive whatever culture and history that would have been hidden by those like the Derg, etc., etc., etc. But let us, as I said, highlight these giants now. That is why we as Rastafari worship them, because they're greater and bigger than light itself. Yeah, give thanks. Hey, royal family, don't know if you know your Bible and you do not know your history. The knowledge of your Bible will become a mystery. Yeah. And of course, it takes some real eyes to realize that are amongst us. I'm very thankful and all the best. I'm reminding everyone, make sure that you register for the official launch of the Ambassador's Pen. Of course, you just email us, priestisaacInstitute@gmail.com. This has been a beautiful sit down. Holy Emmanuel I, Selassie I, Jah Rastafari. Blessed love.
Are you interested in learning ancient astronomy, archaeoastronomy, or astrotheology? Well, the Priest Isaac's Institute of Holistic Knowledge is now offering certified courses in the field of astronomy covering all the above mentioned. Sign up now for our online courses or visit us in Antigua in the Caribbean for 7 days and 7 nights of practical underground research, plus archaeoastronomical observation on Green Castle Hill. You will learn how to identify the stars, the constellations, and the planets, as well as their makeup and their value. This will be a studycation. Enroll today by visiting our website, priestisaacInstitute.com, or sending us an email, priestisaacInstitute@gmail.com, or search us out on TripAdvisor, the Priest Isaac's Institute of Holistic Knowledge, Ancient Astronomy, Archaeoastronomy, and Astrotheology, the wave of the future.